You think you're watching a basketball game, don't you? You see the cheap shots, the blindside hits, and you think the story is about a rookie getting bullied. I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. That's not the story. That's the bait. What's happening to Caitlin Clark isn't a scandal. It's a strategy, a perfectly executed revenge plot that was years in the making, and the WNBA didn't just fall for it. They walked right into the trap. I've been in those locker rooms. I've heard the whispers and seen the jealousy when a new star gets too bright. But I have never ever seen anything like this. This isn't about surviving the league. This is a hostile takeover. And in this video, I'm going to show you the story they don't want you to know. How every single foul, every shove, and every hit was an anticipated move in a chess game designed to dismantle the WNBA's old guard from the inside out. They thought they were sending a message, but they were really just handing over the keys to the kingdom. To understand the genius of this plan, you have to understand the culture of the league I came from. It's a culture the front office sells as a sisterhood, but for many it's anything but. Years ago, a player I knew, Candace Wiggins, spoke out about it. She said she was bullied out of the league for being straight, describing a toxic culture where people were, in her words, deliberately trying to hurt me all of the time. When she said it, the league buried it, dismissed her. But a lot of us who were there, we knew she was telling the truth. It's a league with unspoken rules and a very specific culture, and if you don't fit, you become a target. Now fast forward to today, Caitlin Clark's team, one of the most powerful and connected groups in all of professional sports, knew this history. They knew she was walking into a minefield of jealousy. They knew what happened to Candace. So what did they do? They didn't complain. They didn't ask for meetings with the commissioner. They prepared for war. From the very first day of training camp, they anticipated the targeting and built a strategy not to stop it, but to weaponize it. They knew the hits were coming, and they welcomed every single one. Because every cheap shot wasn't just a foul, it was evidence, it was ammunition. And then the proof fell right into their laps. Clark's own teammate Sophie Cunningham went on her podcast and said the quiet part out loud. I heard it myself. She confirmed that teams were having literal meetings in their locker rooms with one goal: target Caitlin. She quoted them saying the plan was, "We're going to show her what the W really is." That's not just talk, that's a confession. It's premeditated. It proves intent. And while players were busy planning their on-court attacks, Clark's team was quietly building a file that would make a federal prosecutor blush. They treated the entire season like a crime scene. The evidence they gathered is staggering when you see it all in one place. Do you know that Caitlin Clark, one single player, has been on the receiving end of 17.6% of all flagrant fouls in the entire WNBA this season? 17%. That's not a coincidence. That's a statistical anomaly that screams targeting. They have the damning video of Chennedy Carter not just fouling Clark, but running up from behind her when the ball was nowhere in sight and slamming a shoulder into her back, knocking her to the floor. The league was forced to upgrade it to a flagrant one foul later because it was so blatant. They have the clip of Angel Reese winding up and hitting Clark in the head on a layup attempt. These weren't accidents. Each incident on its own might be dismissed. But when you put them all together, you don't see a basketball game anymore. You see a pattern of abuse being methodically documented. The league, in its arrogance, thought they were just letting the players handle a rookie. What they were actually doing was co-signing every piece of evidence that would later be used to threaten their very existence. They were so busy trying to put a rookie in her place that they never realized they were the ones being played, and this is where the strategy goes from smart to genius. Clark's team knew that a file full of fouls wasn't enough. To truly force the league's hand, they had to escalate it beyond the sports world. Do you really think it was a coincidence when a former White House staffer, Sean McClain, suddenly published an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal calling the WNBA a hostile workplace and demanding a federal investigation? That's not a sports column. That's a calculated legal threat delivered on a national stage. Then the next phase of the plan clicked into place. Suddenly, a formal letter from a U.S. Congressman, Jim Banks, lands on the commissioner's desk. This wasn't some generic complaint. It was a legal document, creating an official paper trail and demanding to know why the league was failing to curb excessive physical targeting of specific players. When you bring Congress into it, you're telling the world this is no longer a sports dispute. You're signaling that a federal case is coming, moving this into the territory of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which covers workplace harassment. This is the game within the game. They weren't trying to get the commissioner to issue a statement. They were putting the federal government on notice. Sources are already suggesting that agencies like the Department of Justice are conducting preliminary reviews based on the congressional pressure and the evidence that's been gathered. Clark's team orchestrated all of this without ever having to say a word publicly. But even that wasn't their most powerful weapon. The final piece of the trap, the checkmate move, was always the money. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's an economy. This season alone, she is personally responsible for over 26% of all WNBA economic activity. Think about that. Merchandise sales are up by staggering numbers, anywhere from 500% league-wide. TV viewership has tripled. The league isn't just growing because of her, it's completely dependent on her. Her team weaponized this. The silent message to the owners and sponsors was simple. This billion-dollar boom you're enjoying, it's tied to one person. The person your players are trying to injure every night. The person your league refuses to protect. How long do you think your TV partners will stick around if your greatest asset is taken out by a cheap shot you did nothing to prevent? That's the move that put the league in an impossible position. This is when the heavy hitters in the media started connecting the dots. I was watching ESPN and I heard Stephen A. Smith say it flat out. He looked into the camera and said they have a case, a real argument for federal involvement. When a voice that big starts using phrases like civil rights, you know the league office is in full-blown panic mode. And now, the trap is fully sprung. The WNBA is cornered. They are paralyzed. If they crack down on the players now, they are publicly admitting that the targeting was real, which strengthens Clark's legal case. If they do nothing, they continue to provide her team with more evidence and risk the wrath of sponsors. They have no good moves left. This was the ultimate revenge. Clark's team took the league's ugliest secret, its toxic, jealous culture, and used it as the foundation for a hostile takeover. Every player who took a cheap shot at Clark thought they were defending their territory. In reality, they were just soldiers in a war they didn't even know they were fighting. Now everyone sees the endgame. You can turn on any sports show and the conversation has completely changed. It's not about fouls anymore. It's about legal exposure. It's about the commissioner's failure to lead, and it's about the terrifying word that has every league lawyer awake at night: discovery. That's the legal process where they would be forced to turn over years of internal emails and documents. Can you imagine what those emails say? The jokes, the dismissals, the private complaints about Clark's popularity. It would be a corporate death sentence. And Clark's team knows it, so now the question isn't whether the league will act. It's what will Clark's team demand when the league finally comes to the negotiating table, broken and begging. This wasn't a defense against bullies. This was a coup. A revolution planned in boardrooms and executed on the court. They haven't just built a case against the WNBA. They've built a throne. The only question left is, when will she take it?